Welcome to the League-Kempner House. We're a nonprofit dedicated to restoring and preserving this incredible mansion. If you're new to our channel, check out the Season 1 playlist and get caught up on all the work that's been going on to this point. And check out our Facebook and Instagram pages. You'll get quick updates there that you won't see here on YouTube. Today I want to talk to you about my 14-month plumbing saga. And I'm talking about the waste sewer lines that come out of the house and connect to the city sewer lines. It has been quite the ordeal. This may not sound like the most exciting topic, but to me it is. It's a major milestone for this house to be able to move away from the heavy structural restoration we've been doing and start on the mechanical part of the house, and the sewer line's the first step. Besides that, the whole process was just a nightmare. Originally, when this house was built, everything came out from this back corner and went to a sewer connection in the alley behind the Lasker house, which has been demolished and an apartment complex built. So my sewer connection is actually under that wall and under that apartment complex. So the city came out to confirm that and tried to run a camera down the lines and find the tap, and everything was collapsed and they could only go a couple of feet. So there were no active sewer lines working in this house. Stressor of the day, the city public works department just left. They came and put a camera down this sewer line to try to determine where my pipes join into the city sewer tap, and the camera went this way and turned from PVC into old terracotta pipe about right here, maybe 10 feet away, and then continued and turned, and they think, they're not sure, but they think it went under the concrete and went that way. And then if it continues on where they think it goes under that fence and under that apartment building to the street on the other side. My nice neighbor Lauren, who lives in those apartment buildings, came by and brought me the brownies she has promised. And it's only about 10 in the morning, but it's already been a bad morning, so I'm going to open these up. I'm going to cut me a big piece and eat it right now, just because I feel sorry for myself. That was really good. My brain has calmed down some. Lauren came back over and took me to the apartment complex so we could do some exploring, and it turned out that right on the other side of the fence, where I think the sewer line goes, there's a walkway between the two different apartment buildings, and there's a manhole just about 15 feet on the other side of the fence. So that was probably where the city sewer line originally terminated and this house was connected, and I was thinking that maybe I could tunnel under the fence and go connect still to that same sewer tap. I needed to check with the city and see if they'd let me do that, but the answer was a definite no. Once the city told me that they would not let me reconnect by tunneling under the apartments to get to the original sewer tap, they had to find a new way to connect me. It took me 2 or 3 months to find the right person who could tell me where my sewer needed to run. And after a lot of hoopla, the supervisor finally came out, and it was obvious because right at the end of the driveway is a manhole, which is the city's main sewer system. So the solution was to come from the east side of the house and run to the street. So that was a big process. We had to get on a waiting list. It takes about 3 or 4 months for your name to move up and actually get a new sewer tap installed into the city line, since one didn't exist. And then, of course, right at the end of that process, I changed my mind and decided we needed a 6-inch line, not a 4-inch line, which restarted the process because that's more of a commercial type pipe. And the reason we needed it is because The ground I'm standing on, if you saw the videos about the excavation, you know a lot of fill was added on top of the island being raised. So this dirt is about 15 to 19 inches higher than the basement floor. And that sewer pipe has to slope from the house to the street for the wastewater to flow. And you need a certain amount of slope for every foot of line. Well, this is a long way. From the far side of the house to the street is over 100 feet, and we didn't have enough slope to get to the sewer line without adding sewage pumps. That was something I didn't want to do. A solution for that is the 6-inch line. It only has to slope half as much as a 4-inch line. So that's why we upgraded to the 6-inch line. We still don't know if we were going to have enough slope, because until we actually connected in, used that minimum slope, and got up to the house, we didn't know where that end point would be going into the house. Today my contractor Robert was able to come back and start working. He was just finishing up a 2-month job somewhere else, which had given me a break and a chance to do some other things down here. We spent a couple hours, walked around, figured out a plan, and then the guys started digging. Fortunately, this ground is just sand, and it's very easy to dig in. So they've finished this leg, and now they're working on the piece that goes out to where the city has told me they will install a new sewer tap. It gets deeper as they go because the line has to slope about 4 inches every 20 feet. It's going to be really tight to get the slope because the city sewer line is barely 3 feet down. And we measured, and we're at about 120 feet or more of run for the sewer lines. Say hi, Robert. Hi. He's supervising. Sometimes he works, sometimes he supervises. So this line is going to connect the kitchen and the blue bath. We'll be digging around the side of the house over here to connect the outdoor toilets. The guys dug and dug and dug. It's actually 92 feet from the street to the house. Like every project we start, plans changed, and fortunately it didn't involve digging a new trench. Digging here is always an archaeological experience, and this time we unearthed the original ground level at the house. I was able to measure down and know exactly how much dirt had been filled in up against the exterior of the house. It was about 25 inches. I was pretty disappointed because that meant there was only about 1.5 feet of drop between the house and where I thought the sewer connection would be. The city had estimated about 3.5 feet. And there was still another 45 feet to go from where the pipe would enter the house on this east side over to the far west side where that pink bathroom was added on. I wasn't really sure at all that I could get by without a sewer pump. But as you can see on this diagram, using a 6-inch pipe, which only had to slope half as much as the 4-inch pipe, would give me a fighting chance to be deep enough below the basement floor to avoid that sewer pump. I wouldn't know for sure until the city actually installed the tap, and that process hit another snag. I was supposed to be at the top of the list, but my work order got misplaced, and I waited another 2 or 3 months without hearing anything from the city. During that time, there was a lot of rain and windstorms, and it really eroded my trench, and about half of it probably got filled back in just from the weather. In all fairness, I didn't push the city because there were a lot of other things going on that needed my attention. When I finally did get around to it, as usual, they were incredibly nice and put me right back on the schedule. The city crew started by saw cutting the concrete where the line needed to go out in the street. Then the main sewer line had to be pumped out. They brought in this giant truck and a vacuum truck and sucked it clean. Those guys had to go down in there and work to install that tap, and I don't think they get paid enough. That's just my opinion. Then additional heavy equipment came in and the real digging started. There was an old oak tree stump with a good-sized palm tree growing out of it right in the way. It came out way quicker than I anticipated. The second stump in the way was a palm tree that had been cut down, and it took almost 2 hours, maybe 3, to get it out. I really accelerated the video and cut out a lot of it, but just watch this whole digger come up off the ground as it's trying to pull that stump out. It was really holding on. It's no wonder that these palm trees stay up during hurricane force winds. They were just about to give up and call for a bigger backhoe when it finally broke free. Look at that root system on it. It's like a giant mop head. With the stumps out of the way, they started digging the trench where the new pipe would be. And almost immediately there were problems because, of course, there's always problems. Okay, and they had the same problem that we did. They've dug the hole and the water's seeping out of the ground and starting to fill it. They're down in the water table. We have a small problem. The main city water line is right there. And if we go over it, I won't have enough slope to the house to flush the toilet. So they're trying to get deeper and get just underneath it. I have to continue on with my love fest with the city crews. I explained my issue about not having enough slope to the house, and they did everything possible within their power to get my sewer line as deep as they possibly could, given the limitations of the main sewer line depth. They ended up at about 4.5 feet down, right on the other side of the curb, which was just incredible. Okay, the minute I quit videoing, the whole side caved in. The sides were constantly caving in, which is really scary, knowing that they were going to be down working in that trench. They're digging the sewer line, and it's a great example of how the island was raised. This brown dirt below is the original island. Here's the old road right here before the island was raised, and then they've pumped in this much sand and they just put it right over the road. They didn't take it out. The same was true for the curb. That's interesting. There's the upper curb. It looks like there's a lower curb, which would have been before they raised the island. They just added another curb on top of the existing one. Okay, I just measured, and the sand above the street is 15 inches. And the curb sits up 17 inches from the top of the old curb. Once the new sewer tap and pipe were installed, the city covered up the trench and compacted the dirt so the street could be reopened to traffic. And my guys started breaking out the concrete sidewalk so that they could finish digging that trench from just inside the yard over to the street where the city line had stopped. You may have seen on one of my other videos where a different city crew came out the next week and started forming up to pour a new sidewalk where we had just taken this one out. Thank goodness I just happened to be here that day and stopped them. I found this very interesting. Right up next to the house, you could see the original brick foundation and how it flares out at the bottom to provide a wide base for the house to sit on so that it doesn't sink down into this soft, wet sand. The different layers showing how the island was raised were also very clear in the trench. You can see the original island height, then what I think is the line of topsoil that was brought in for the yard after the house was built, and then this clear layer of sand that was dredged and pumped in to raise the island after the 1900 hurricane. And then there's the driveway on top of that. I think it's really happening this time. The plumbing for the sewer line was supposed to get installed today, but you can see all the activity that's going on. because a couple of things got left off the order, and then the order got called in, and then it got lost, and my contractor's down there trying to pick it up, but they couldn't find the invoice for me to pay, and it's almost noon and nothing has happened. Okay, here we are. Pretty tight working quarters, but we have a pipe. And it goes all the way to the house. And there's my 4-inch lateral line going off. Oh, there's my 6-inch line. Oh, there it is. My stub. My handicap bathroom that hopefully I'll get someday. Finally, everything was done and we were ready for inspection. It's Friday and it's not starting out well. The first thing I did was get the ladder and go look in this standpipe to see if there's water. We're doing a hydrostatic test of the line. And you can see the water's dropped about 3.5 feet, which either means there's a leak in the pipe somewhere, or the test ball that blocks the line to hold water is not seated well at the end. But either way, we're not going to pass inspection today, which means none of this can be covered up. And here's what makes it a little tricky. There's water in the trench, but that doesn't mean the pipe leaked, because we've already had to drain this several times because the trench is down below where the ground table is, so water naturally seeps in. Here's where that test plug is located. So here we are with the dreaded red tag. Fortunately, all the problems were resolved and we were able to cover up the trench, which was a huge safety hazard. With the green tag in hand, it was time to close in the trench, and because I'm the free, unskilled labor, I got started. As long as it took to fill it in, I cannot imagine how hard those guys worked to dig it out. It's a lot of dirt. I calculated with the line to the street and the lateral, it was about 150 feet of trench, 2 feet wide and on average 4 feet deep, which by my calculation is about 44 cubic yards of sand. That's a lot. I was ecstatic to have this project complete for many reasons. First, that trench sat there for over 4 months, and it was a real safety hazard. I also couldn't finalize the plans for the plumbing inside the house because I needed to know exactly how deep that line was where it was going to come in the house, so I'd know if it was deep enough to avoid that sewer pump. I was also at a standstill on doing any more work in the basement because the sewer lines need to be laid in the ground beneath the floor before the floor can be finished out, and the walls can't be built until the floor is done. So that's a sequencing issue. I also just needed to be done with this part. It was a huge problem from start to finish, and I've left a good portion of those problems out of this video because, kind of like the roof, I just don't care to relive it. But let me tell you about one of them, just because I was so shocked by it. We had to move inside because it's too windy to talk outside, but I wanted to show you just one of the weird things going on in construction today. This is a two-way clean-out tee that needs to be where that big plumbing line comes into the house. So if you get a clog, you can clean back into the house or back out to the street. And that's one of the reasons we failed inspection, because this was not installed because we had just stopped the line and stubbed out. So I went on the hunt for a 6-inch two-way clean-out tee. This tee was $1,061. I found another 6-inch clean-out at a different plumbing supply for $760. The lowest I could find it online was $500 and something, but it was back ordered and no idea when they might get it in. This is the 4-inch tee that you can get online for $25. It's the exact same thing, just slightly smaller, a price difference of over $900 and no, actually a price difference, I can't do math in my head, help. A price difference of $1,000 and something from high to low.
So this is where I love the city inspector. I talked to him about the problem, and we are stepping down to a 4-inch line as we go in the house. So he conditionally passed us so we could close up the trench and get everything safe. And we bought the 4-inch line at Home Depot for $35, and we'll step down to 4-inch and then put this before we enter the house. So it pays to shop around and kind of think out of the box. And for the life of me, once the mold is made, they're made the same. The excess material is not that much. Why there should be such a price difference, I don't know. But there you have it.
Prices have dropped about $200 since early March, but still, it's nuts. I sure hope the plumbing inside goes smoother. I'm just about to get that underway, so fingers crossed. There's always something disastrous going on here at the League-Kempner House in Galveston as we work to save this amazing property. So be sure and subscribe and turn on your notifications because new videos come out almost every week. We're also about to hit a real YouTube milestone, 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 viewing hours, which means we qualify to get paid, and that is so important to the long-term survival of this house. Thank you for watching these videos and supporting our efforts, and we love questions and comments, so please tell us what you think. In the next video, we're working on the parlor alcove, and you don't want to miss that. So I hope to see you next time here at the League-Kempner House in Galveston, Texas.